Great evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of At the Table. I am your host, Dr. Motawali. Super excited that you all took time out of your busy schedules, time out of giving the kids baths, preparing dinner, loving on your loved ones to come join me at the table on this evening. And so many of you have reached out to me asking Dr. Motawali, how can I better prepare my child as they enter into this new school year? What tools are available to me? What resources are there out there that I can help my student? And so I'm glad you asked. This is the reason why At the Table was created, to make sure that we educate, empower, and encourage parents as they learn how to navigate the school system, as they learn how to better help their children become more successful at school. And so this evening, I'm super excited to have my mentee, actually, one of my former students, if you can't believe it or not. He was one of my former students at Thomasville High School, a graduate of Thomasville High School, also a graduate, of the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. Can I get an Aggie pride? And so he is here on this evening. He's also the owner. How can I forget that? The founder, owner, and operator of his own tutorial company. And the name, for some reason, literally just slipped my mind. I don't know why, y'all. But anywho, Mr. Jacquez Taylor is here on this evening. If y'all can put some fire in the chat, rounds of applause, just to welcome him to the table. Woo! I'm excited.
I am too.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Doc?
I am wonderful. I'm blessed and highly favored.
Look, we blessed that they come.
I'm excited to have you join me at the table on this evening. And so this episode is dedicated to every parent. Jacquez's specialty is elementary, but he has exposure and experience in middle as well as in high school, especially in his current position. But his tutorial company actually focuses on elementary school students and preparing them specifically for the EOG. When he was living here in North Carolina, y'all be in prayer that he comes back home to North Carolina, because right now he's down yonder in Florida. But we want him to come on back up this way to his home where he belongs. And so I'm going to open the floor. Jacquez, if you want to say anything to the people before we get started.
Yes, it is truly a great day to be an educator, as one of my former school superintendents would say when she would open up an introduction to educators. But no, I am truly excited to be at the table with my wonderful mentor who has groomed me to be, her protege, the male version of her. I try. But I'm just excited to at least instill some type of wisdom into our parents, and also send some encouraging words as we progress into this academic school year.
Yay! And y'all see why I absolutely love and adore him. So, Jacquez, let's get started. So, my first question to you: what makes success in third grade so significant? Why is third grade so important?
I'm gonna put a twist on that question, and then I'll jump to why success in third grade is significant. For me, as an educator, especially in elementary, it is very important. So from K to third grade, it is very vital that your child is knowing their ABCs, knowing their 1, 2, 3s, also knowing how to behave and act when they go into a classroom setting. But in this particular case, to the question, the success to third grade, what makes it significant? If you don't know, parents, if you don't know, listeners, watchers, viewers, whomever you are, insurance companies, state departments, the federal government is looking at third grade, in particularly Black and brown children, test scores in the third grade. So it's very vital and significant that your child is on grade level, making sure that they're getting the extra support that they need when it comes to being in the third grade. And as a former third grade teacher, third grade is the make it or break it for the trajectory of your child's tenure in K-12. So from third grade to 12th grade, it sets the tone until they graduate and walk across that stage. So third grade is the make it or break it school year for your child, especially when it comes to collecting data.
That part, that data, because that's where it starts, parents. I mean, they've been collecting data from before, but now this is the data that carries and goes with them, travels with them throughout their educational journey. And so, Jaquez, what should students know by the time they leave elementary school? I mean, you've seen them from kindergarten, well, pre-K, even in some instances, you're seeing them all the way to fifth grade. When they're leaving high school, what should they, excuse me, not high school, elementary school, what should they know?
That's a great question. So for me as a former elementary teacher, it's basic. My only ask, you know, that students by the time they leave fifth grade, they need to know they need to know their multiplication. Look at Shayla. They need to the students need to know their multiplication. Students need to know how to divide, long division, short division. They need to know how to subtract fractions. All of this falls into middle school. So if you don't know how to do two-step equation by the end of fifth grade, then your child is going to be lost when they get to middle school. And I know that for an example, I'm thinking back to my own experience in K-12 when I was in third grade. My teacher pressured us to know our multiplication because it carries us through fourth, fifth, middle school, and high school. It sets the tone. So when you get in algebra 1, you're like, oh snap, I know what 9 times 2 is. I know what 12 times 12 is because you already had that foundation in third grade. And in the state of North Carolina, it used to be to the point where it was some point in the curriculum where in second grade, by the end of second grade, students are already knowing their multiplication. I don't know where we got lost with that, but we need to get back to it because a lot of kids that I see now in my current position do not know how to multiply. They don't know how to subtract. They don't know how to carry. That stuff starts in really second grade, and it carries into third grade. So parents, your child should be knowing their multiplication, division, by the time they get into middle and high school.
Yeah, and those are skills that should be indoctrinated into their learning environment wherever they may go, because that is so vital. I can't tell you how many times when you think about two square, something as simple as that you see in math one, or whenever, introduction to square roots, that goes back to knowing those multiplication tables. And so
Mm-hmm.
my next question to you then, how does the lack of access specifically to quality resources such as tutoring contribute to a child's education trajectory?
Repeat the question.
So how does the lack of access specifically to quality resources such as tutoring contribute to a child's education trajectory, whether it's good or bad? So their lack
Mm,
of access, what does lack of access do to a child's education?
well, I'll give you a backstory of why I started my tutoring business. It's because I saw a need my freshman year in college, when I was in Greenville, North Carolina, attending my freshman year in college, um, where parents was really hitting at me like, "Hey, are you coming home for the summer to tutor?" And so that's where I started my tutoring. We look at urban communities, urban school districts. It's not a lot of, and I'm gonna say from my experience in Thomasville, because that's my hometown. So in Thomasville, I hear a lot of parents say we don't have access to tutoring, or the school is not providing tutoring until the spring when it's closer to the test time. No, no, no. We can't wait for tutoring to be presented to families, students, and families in the springtime. We need to present that from August to June. That ties into us closing the academic achievement gap. If we say we want to close the academic achievement gap, we have to work with children and families before, during, and after school. And so the need, a lot of communities, or a lot of school districts, um, don't know what tutoring looks like. They don't know what's the foundation when it comes to, oh, how do we approach this child and their family when it comes to providing tutoring. So I think that is to answer your question to a certain extent. But there's a lot that goes into that. Like, a lot of communities are underfunded. A lot of communities don't have the opportunity presented to. A lot of communities don't have the financial stability as where I'm comparing Gifford County and Thomasville. Gifford County is a lot larger and have a lot more connections um, to academic achievements for students and or resources for students versus Thomasville, which is a small urban school district in North Carolina.
Very true. And so you talked about one of the key things that even a few weeks ago, Dr. Johnson, when she was at the table, talk about funding and how the inequities in funding really impacts the education of each child within a specific district. And so I give you a great example. Thomasville doesn't have a specified school provided after school.
Mm-hmm.
And so, outside of sports or outside of what the teachers may offer themselves, there's no set like ACEs like we have in my current district. You have ACEs after school, and so that is very, very important. And this is why we're here tonight to talk to you all as to how you can have access to resources, even if they're not provided directly by your district or your school. And so, Jaquez, being a tutor, what do tutors? So you may have people listening in here on this evening who plan to start a tutorial company, or who would like to even begin tutoring their children themselves. What for the tutors? What information should they be using to determine the best course of action when it comes to creating a plan for the student?
Yes, great question. So one, parents, do not try to tutor your children. It's not gonna work. Yeah, you're gonna butt heads. It's like when I used to try to tutor my brother, we used to butt heads because I used to try to boss him around. Parents, you're gonna get frustrated. So I promise you, pay somebody to tutor your child. Pay someone. Listen to me. You're gonna get frustrated because this new curriculum, the new standards, the new mantra of how we teaching children is not the way what we were taught. So hire somebody. But to answer your question, to give advice to anyone who is looking to start a tutorial service business, or someone who is looking to tutor in general, I would say start with the child and the family having a conversation. Like do a consultant, like get to know that child, understand that child's data. So you can, as a tutor, you have the right, and with the parents' permission, to ask and request the schools for your students' data. So look at the trajectory of that child's education team. So whether it's a kindergarten, look at what they done in pre-K if they went to pre-K. If it's in third grade, like I specialize in third grade, look at that child's track record from kindergarten to second grade, and also look at the current work that that student is doing in the third grade, and then start from there. And also keep in contact. You have to be in alignment with the teacher. I hate, and I don't like to use the word hate, but I really hate when children just come to tutoring and it's just we're working on a worksheet. No, no, no. That child and I need to understand why we're working on this worksheet, because Dre may have gotten confused on problem two, but he needs to know why he got number two wrong, or why he needs to understand why number two needs to be, the answer needs to be 12. So I say, look at the student's data, have a conversation with the student's parents, have a conversation with the school teacher, and also if you can have a conversation with the curriculum facilitator. In certain cases, it's curriculum facilitators or instructional coaches or whatever your district may call it. Have that conversation so everyone can be at the table, and also everyone can be in alignment when it comes to that child's success.
So that's good. Using that data and parents. And so I will say this, if you cannot afford to hire a specific tutor, there are other resources out there, and we'll get into that. I will make sure I also attach that to this specific video, because if you're viewing this on YouTube, YouTube can be your tutor. Khan Academy can
Absolutely,
assist you. And so
absolutely,
don't feel like, because you don't have the funds to hire a person, someone in person, that you cannot receive access to, a high quality level of tutoring if you're using online videos. Because let me tell y'all something. I am a firm believer in YouTube. YouTube is one of my greatest I call it YouTube University because you can learn your YouTube. Okay. And so, Jaquez, to follow up with that question, what do the students, or excuse me, what do parents, what information do parents need to use to determine the best course of action for their children?
Great question. I will say data. I will go back to the data. And parents, if you don't know how to read the data, ask the questions. I don't care if the question is, what is the 1% of the my child growth in the on his or her reading level? Ask that question, because guess what? That question can be answered. I as an educator, I used to be scared of reading data until in my current position where I had some colleagues who have pushed me to like really interpret and read data. And shout out to them if they're watching. I invited them as well. But I say that to say, parents, when it comes to data, do not be discouraged. Don't be alarmed. It's just numbers. If you can count up your money, you can read data. Trust me, it's that simple. Everybody can tell a story with data. It's just about you understanding the interpretation of what is written on paper or what you're looking at online. Um, so parents, I would say start with the data. Ask the questions. Ask questions. There's never a dumb question. And parents, I'm gonna give you a little secret here. You have the power. You have the power, and guess
And
what?
do.
You have the power. Let me tell you something. The board of education, the superintendent, the teachers, the administrator, they're in the palm of your hand. You just have to know how to use and maneuver in the school district. So I just want to say that parents, you all have the power over your child's education. You have the power to say what you want to do with your child's education.
And see, this is why At the Table was created, to continue to educate and empower parents, even as we encourage you to know how to navigate the education system. We are going to give you all the tea. Okay.
All of it.
All of it. Okay. We're going to let you in on all the secrets, all the, to make you understand or help you to understand all the acronyms, what that goes along in education, because we have a ton. Okay. We have a ton. And so thank you for that response. We can't stress that enough. Data matters. Okay. When you get your child's report card, when you look at their Power School, that's what we use in North Carolina. When you look at their last year, the end of the
Mm-hmm.
year exam results, ask questions. You know, what is the breakdown? What specific questions? Like, for instance, those of you who are in high school, ACT and SAT, when you look on College Board, when you take your SAT, it breaks it down to you, tell you what question is what, you know, what it looks like, what you got, like it breaks it. And that data is so important because now you can have a focus, okay, a narrow focus tutorial session on specifically what it is that you need um, to grow in the area that you need to grow in order to up your score. And so that's the same thing Jacquez is saying in translation for elementary school parents. Look this up, Lexile score, quantile
Mm-hmm.
score. Look that those terms up, parents. And I'll put it in the chat while I ask Jacquez the next question. So what advice would you offer to parents when it comes to preparing their children for their first classroom and or state exam? So it may be their first time taking a test in class, or it may be the first time taking a state exam. What would you advise parents to do to help their child prepare for such a monumentous occasion in their life? Because it is a big deal.
Great question. So, looking back on my experience as a tutor and as an educator or a teacher, per se, I would say my greatest advice that I would give to any parents who have a child in third grade. I'm going to stick with third grade because that's the testing year. That's the make it or break it year. I would say after Christmas break, start getting your child into a routine. Start when going back to asking the questions to the teachers. What strategies are y'all using now? Because every month from January to May, they're going to be going over new strategies. And I know that for a fact here in the district that I currently work closely in. Come January, April, our reading, we over new reading strategies, math strategies. So I would say parents, ask those questions to the teachers. What strategies are you using? Look up testing strategies for elementary kids. Look up reading passages, getting them in the habit of reading. We have to like literally get our children into the habit of reading. And I see that a lot why children fail. I ain't gonna say fail. They don't do as well on the reading EOG than they do on math, because they don't understand the proper technique of going through a reading passage. So I always tell my students this: read the title first, because the title will give you an idea of what you're going to read. And then two, read the questions, because as you go back to the passage, you will understand. You'll be looking for the question. I mean, the answers in your reading passages. And then after the second step, reading the questions, the third step would be to go and read the paragraph and annotate on the side of the paragraph. I believe in teaching children in third grade how to annotate on the side of their paragraph, because it gives them a specific detail. Like if they don't know what the word anxiety is in a paragraph, they can write that out, go back to that paragraph or that stanza, and know what they are looking for in their question. So I say, parents, again, go back, ask those questions. If you don't know what questions to ask, call me. Everybody knows they can access me on Facebook. I have a ton of parents that call me weekly, and I'm not kidding. Call me weekly to get advice, and I am thankful that you all lean on me for support. But I'm always here. I'm working pro bono for my folks. So yeah, ask the questions. Ask the questions about reading strategies. We got this. Y'all got this. Parents, students, families, we got this. We in this together. It's a collective work.
I want you all to hear the term that he used. It's a collective work. We're in it together. We're in it to win it. But the only way we can win is if we work as a team. Okay? So it's a collective work. It's not just solely on the teacher. It's not just solely on the parents. Though parents should be a child's first educator, you've got to work in partnership with your child's teacher. Your child's teacher is not your enemy. They're not there to have your child feel defeated. And so this is why we're here again, to help you all learn the strategies in order to prepare your little sweethearts to succeed on their final exams, or even on their classroom exams, or whatever it may be. And these strategies, they actually take it all the way to high school. That is one of the strategies that when I do ACT and SAT tutorial, that is definitely one of the ones that I use for the reading portion of both assessments. Because I mean, you've got to, and if you don't understand a word, and that's even on state exams, let's look up the synonym of that word. What does it sound like to you, so that you, when you get to that test, you're not lost, because then these exams are timed. And so you've got to know how to maneuver rapidly and not get lost in trying to figure out one question, but finding the questions that you know without a shadow of a doubt. Knock those out. And these are the different strategies that we don't need to wait till the spring to teach our students. We teach them now. So like he said, you need to cultivate that habit early on, instead of waiting till the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so my next question to you, sir, is what strategies and or tools can parents utilize when it comes to supplementing their child's education?
What strategies or tools can parents utilize?
When it comes to supplementing their child's education. So what other things are out there that, if they're not in the classroom, or they're not catching it from the classroom, what can I do as a parent? I'm not a teacher, but I want to make sure I help my child. What can I do? What things are out there that I can use?
That's a great question. Oh my God. If you and I have conversations every other day about stuff like this. I'm gonna have to throw YouTube. I'm gonna have to go back. Listen, parents, I'm gonna have to say this. This is a collective work. I'm in it with you. Dr. Mutawali is in this with you. Your child's teacher is in it with you. You just have to meet us in the middle point. Meet us in the middle of the street. That's all we ask as educators. But I say that to say, parents, use YouTube. Call the teacher. Visit the classroom. Ask about a pacing guide. The pacing guide, parents, what a pacing guide is like a calendar with different topics, different standards, different what is going on in the curriculum. Ask for that pacing guide. Ask the teacher or the coach, ask the principal, someone to go over that pacing guide with you. So if you want to seriously help your child grow and learn, you want to learn the new material that's been taught in the schoolhouses with your child, ask for that pacing guide, and I promise you that will change your whole trajectory of the school year when it comes to helping you help your child. And I say that to say, parents, we have to do better at asking the questions. So I say use YouTube, ask for that pacing guide, use YouTube, develop some flashcards, develop some more flashcards, and then YouTube it out. I'm telling you, it works. Or go sit in the classroom. As a teacher, I'm always welcoming parents into the classroom. We need you in the classroom. We need volunteers. We need substitutes in these districts.
We need teachers, but anyhow.
No, for real, we do.
I'm glad. I'm so grateful that's not my testimony, but that is the sentiments of many of our neighboring districts or states that are struggling with that. But as he stated, the pacing guy, that's a great one. That's a great to ask for the standards, or you can even look them up for your LEA, or look it up as part of your state Department of Education. Like, you have access to that, parents. You have access to so many things, but no one ever told you. And I must apologize on behalf of educators everywhere that you were not aware that all these things were available to you. So like he said, ask the questions. And so you have YouTube. YouTube is a phenomenal tool. iExcel is another phenomenal tool. Khan Academy is another great tool. Desmos for the math ones, that's another great tool. There's so many out there. You can hit Bishop Google, as I like to call Bishop Google, or Chancellor Google, if you want to, whatever preference you have, and Google it. Like, your child is learning this new way of doing division. Google new school division, and I bet you something will come up. I bet you a video will come up, or an image, or a handout. Something will come up. I remember a few weeks ago we had Mrs. Sade Edwards on here, and she was talking about her mom. Her mom will go and study the curriculum before she got home so that she was able to help her. And I know in this time of age, we are busy. Some of us are working multiple jobs like myself, or you may be involved in, different civic organizations or whatever it may be. But when it comes to the education of your child, ladies and gentlemen, it is imperative that we make the time. I'm a firm believer in that we make the time for what we want to make the time for. And so you've got to take that time, whether it be you take the 15 minutes if you get a copy, or when you get a copy, because I believe that our parents out here are going to go get a copy of the pacing guide and of the standards. And the great thing about the pacing guide and the standards, I know I can speak for North Carolina specifically for my district, they even break it down and give you examples of it. And so you're able to help your child. Help us help your child. We can't do it all on our own, and you can't do it all on your own. And so, like I said, this is a partnership.
And I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna add something. I'm gonna gear this towards North Carolina because that's where most of my experience comes from. Department of NCDPI, Department of Public Instruction, lays out everything. That is the most easiest website to navigate. I even here in Florida, looking at their new standards. Oh my God, don't get me started on Florida standards. I'm going to just say this, very low, but we'll get into that on the next topic. But I say that North Carolina has it laid out for families and parents to navigate the website, to look at the curriculum, look at the standards, look at it may have a guided pacing guide for like the state, but each district have the autonomy and the flexibility to set their own pacing guide to what is suitable for their school district. So I do want to say that. So you may find a generic pacing guide on NCDPI's website. It may just be like the first 2 weeks of school, your child is on fractions. The next 2 weeks they be spent on decimals. It's so forth and so on. But the pacing guide, I promise you, parents and families, it literally breaks down everything that you need to know for the school year. I promise you, if you ask a teacher what a pacing guide is, make sure that you quote me. Give me credit. I promise you, the teacher gonna be like, "What? This parent knows about a pacing guide? Like, who done schooled them on what a pacing guide is?" I promise you, I have never heard a parent say, "What is a pacing guide?" So I promise you, a teacher is gonna be stunned and shocked when you ask ask for the pacing guide for the school year.
But they'll be so excited.
So excited.
So excited that you asked. It's like, oh, I got a partner in this. So somebody's going to help walk me through. And you can find it at your local LEA's website. And when I say LEA, your local education agency. And so your specific district have those tools available on their website as well. And then another thing I must give kudos to our state is that they even break down with the state assessment. They tell
They
you
do. They
specifically
do.
this
They do.
percentage is going to be on this percentage is going to be on that. Parents, print it out. Print it out. Highlight, okay, so 50% of the final exam, the state exam for math, is going to be on fractions. Oh, every night we doing fractions. Because if you don't know anything else, you're going to get this 50% correct because we're going to be doing fractions every single night. Okay?
And let's
And it's there, it's available to you, it's readily available to you. And they even have release tests
Yep.
that you can
And
print out yourself. And you
I
can look
always
and
say
see how the exams are structured.
I always tell parents when I used to do my EOG boot camp for 6 weeks for my third graders, and I used to have more than third. I had fourth and fifth grade too. But again, I am specialized in second and third grade. Those are my grades. But I would say for the reading portion of the end of grade test, it tells you how many poetry paragraphs you're going to have. There's going to tell you how many long passages you're going to have. There's about I might be speaking broad here, but it may be like 8 reading passages throughout the whole EOG, and there's maybe like 32 questions. And I think they simplified it. The last state superintendent simplified how many questions would be on a third grade reading test. So it may be instead of 32, it may be 24. I think they decreased the amount of questions. So parents, DPI in the state of North Carolina lays it out for you to go and look at what your child is being taught in the state of North Carolina.
And so
Again, it goes.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it goes back to you now asking the questions, stepping up to the plate, meeting the teacher, meeting the school personnel where you want to be met. We can't do this alone. And parents, I'm not a parent, but I am a teacher, and I have little cousins who I treat as my children, and I'm on their parents like white on rice, as my granny would say. I'm on you like white on rice. So I'm on you because I care in this work. I've tried to run away from education several times, but guess what? The Lord keeps willing me right on back in. Like, come on, this is your calling. So parents, again, DPI, I'm speaking specifically to North Carolina parents. DPI lays it out for you. They do. I promise you they do. I cannot stress that enough.
They really do. And for the viewers out there, please share this video with others that you know can use this information, especially if they better yet, not even if they just have a child in elementary, if they have a child in public education, specifically in the state of North Carolina, but anywhere across the country, because like Jacques said, much of our experience has been in North Carolina. But he is currently in Florida and can speak and attest to some things concerning Florida. Share this video with them. Love them and love their child enough to share this with them because they need to know the tea and get the tea okay, on the education system so that they can better prepare their child to have a successful school year. And so, Jack, was my last question to you as an educator, what keeps you up at night?
Oh, all of the innovative ideas and innovative things that I have for education, the research that I do, like before I go to bed, I'm always researching. And I'll put this out there. One of my professional mentors, I have three, by the way: Kevin Lee, Sabrine Mutawali, and June Atkinson. I have to shout them out. But there's one thing that Dr. Atkinson, who is the former state superintendent of North Carolina Public Schools, I got to throw that out there too. She she
Love her.
challenged me. She challenged me when she did not assume state superintendent about 6 years ago when she did not win her campaign. But there's one thing that she left off before she got to before she retired. She challenged me to research, find findings on how we as a society, and more specifically North Carolina, how can we change our grading system. So she said that to me about 5 years ago, and I have been tasked with that at hand to find a new grading scale. So my ultimate goal, I studied education in Greece for 2 weeks when I was at A&T a few years ago, where I studied abroad and I looked at their grading system. And so that is one of the projects that keeps me up at night, to think innovatively, how can we change the grading scale here, not only in North Carolina, but across the 50 states that we claim claim as territory for education. And so my goal is to continue to have that conversation, but I need support along this research, because this research is tough. Dr. Mudawala, you know about research,
Ooh.
defending the PhD. So, woo. But that is one of the things that keep me up at night, the innovative ideas and the tasks that I've been at hand to look for a different grading system for our education system here in the U.S.
And so I will piggyback off of that. One of the things that keep me up is that we are the united, right? United States of America. So why is it that if I move to Colorado or if I move to California and New York, my education looks so different?
Mm.
Why? And that is what bothers me. It does keep me up. That is one of the things I research. Having been someone who has grown up in one country's education system and then migrate to the United States and have, lived in various states, it's like, okay, I got to learn. If I move here, I got to relearn this because y'all don't do it the same way. And I'm not saying that we need to do everything 100% exactly the same, but can we at least get to 75%? Can we make it easier for our children and for our parents to be able to transition from one state to the next and not have to worry about, okay, they call it something different in this state, they didn't do it this way in this state, so now they don't get that credit, so they got to retake this class because it doesn't align with our class. And I mean, why are we making it so difficult? We want our children to want to be here.
I think, I did my senior project in high school on Common Core curriculum, which my school superintendent at the time was, she was a part of the task force, I'm going to call it task force, that helped start Common Core in North Carolina. And, I was against Common Core as a student, but seeing it now from her perspective of looking back on my research and finding she was for it, Dr. Petrie Martin was for Common Core, and I was against. And while I was against Common Core, is because it was too late for me to think outside of the box as a learner. I was brought up on memorization, not critical thinking, and so Common Core teaches kids to think critically, versus Dr. Sabrine and I and watchers on this live, we was taught to memorize. You memorize how to spell cat, you get 100 on your spelling test by Friday. You remember 2 plus 2, that's 4. Like, that's memorization. Now we have to teach kids. Well, now we're teaching kids to think critically. 2 plus 2 is not 4 nowadays. It's 5. So now you got to do 2 plus 2, and you got to do drawings and stuff like that. So it's different. And so I say that to say, piggyback off what you were saying. I do, and then it's my prayer that we as a system find some common ground to teach and have the same curriculum across the same West Coast, Midwest, East Coast. We all should be teaching the same thing. And you said 75%. I'm gonna say 100%. We need to get the politics out of the way.
Yeah.
If we can get that out of the way, then I believe that our children education will move forward. We will get better results from
Yeah.
our students.
Yeah. And so what he was talking about, you all, when he's talking about the 2 plus 2, now they have to understand the why behind it. So there is more. One of the beauties for me, in my opinion, and being one who supervises Matt, is the finding the beauty in the struggle. And so them, struggling through and how to solve it till they get making those critical thinking. Okay, how can I get around this? Because I'm not getting the answer that is supposed to be. What am I missing? What are the steps that I'm missing? Why do I need to do this before this in order to get this? And so that's what he was talking about. So I know some people are like, what you mean 2 plus 2 equals 5?
No, it's a layman
It's just
term.
an
It's
example, y'all. It's just an example, but he is correct. The way they're doing it now is not just the regular 2 plus 2. They need to understand the why behind the 2 plus 2. And so, any final thoughts, any parting thoughts you want to leave with us, future Dr. Taylor?
Listen, I will be a doctor. I don't know when. The Lord knows. I would just say, parents, I'm going to encourage you all to continue to ask those questions. Be more involved. I wrote on Facebook back in July, maybe July 3rd, a post that I'm posting on Facebook to encourage my families back in Thomasville. There's new leadership. Know who's at the top. Know who's making the decisions for your children. Know your board of education. Reach out to the board of education. I always tell people this. The board of education literally runs the school district. The superintendent is just a secretary to the board of education. The superintendent has the plan. The board of education is overseeing that plan that the superintendent has laid out for the school district. So parents, and more specifically Thomasville and surrounding areas that I know, in North Carolina, Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, all of the places I've worked, please be involved with your children's education. It is very important. Your children have lost learning for the past 2 years, but more specifically, they have lost learning prior to those 2 years that we were sitting at home educating from a virtual space. So do what's right. I'm here with any answers or support that I can give you. Remember, I'm not a parent. I'm just speaking from an educator's perspective and point of view. But I'm here to guide you um, as you see success in your child this school year.
Thank you, sir. And so it was an honor to be at the table. You all stay tuned for the September edition of At the Table. Hopefully, my guest speakers will confirm because I'm excited about a September to remember what we're going to discuss and talk about. Remember, we're here every second and fourth Monday of the month. Today was a change because I had a prior engagement yesterday. But remember, every second and fourth Monday of the month at 8 p.m., mark your calendar, hit a save the date. This edition on tonight was phenomenal. So help me help my child. We hope that we helped you to help your child. You all, again, this is At the Table. Thank you so much for joining us on this evening. You all have a great evening.